have today the opportunity. We are starting out. I am probably her biggest fan with Ginny Fuchs. Let me just tell y'all something. 2021 Olympian. I mean, come on. Professional boxer, OCB advocate. I'm covered in chills. She is such, you know, I guess I'm trying to be practice the surrender of not speaking in foul language. But I'm going to tell you something. She is the bomb. And there she is. I can see you. Jenny, oh my God.
Hey,
She's
hey.
going to talk with us today about surrendering, that it is okay not having the time she feels she needs to get things done to how she feels it needs to be done right. Timing. Oh my God, it's huge. She also talks to us about the quote, the more you let it go, the more you can become. She tells us she recommends the book Is Fred in the Refrigerator? First of all, what a title. And that's by Shala Nicely. And her word is a word that I think we could all have each and every day. Patience. Jenny, thank you for being here.
Thank you, thank you.
I can't hear. Let's see if I can
Can you
hear
hear
you.
me?
There you are.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
Jenny.
Uh, Hi, hey Carol, how are you
Oh
doing?
my God. I'm doing really great now.
Good, good.
Thank you for being here, for making the time with your incredible schedule. I've heard Jenny speak. I've watched her in the ring.
Mhm.
We are in for a treat. Jenny, where do you want to begin talking to us about? I mean, my goodness, from a young age, discovering the OCD, how that had affected your life prior to you figuring out what that is, getting into boxing, where do you want to start? Because your practice of surrender is one of those that it's come throughout your life.
Right.
So take it away.
Well, I'm very, very happy to be here, and it's such a pleasure that you're giving me this opportunity to tell my story and tell my experience with how I deal with surrendering. So I appreciate that, and it's amazing to be a part with all these wonderful women and telling their stories. So thank you so much. But I'm gonna start from the beginning to where the hurricane all kind of started, I'll say. And it started at a young age. And my surrender actually, I was like you were saying, you keep practicing surrendering, which I still do today because I still struggle with my OCD and I probably will for the rest of my life. It's just I have to surrender every day into a way I can manage it and still live my best life. So my surrender has different parts of my life where I discovered that surrender and what it can do for me. But so I was sixth grade. So during my middle school years, I suffered from anorexia. And it started in sixth grade. And then it progressed worse and worse throughout my middle school years. And in eighth grade, it became very, very bad to where, my parents were scared for me. But all throughout this time, I didn't understand why everybody was worried about me. I was like, I'm just wanting to get healthy in my mind. I'm just wanting to get healthy, lose weight, look good. Um, so I was always like, these people, I don't know why they're so worried. It's frustrating. Why are my parents making me go see all these doctors? Like, I don't get it. And I was mad. I was frustrated. Um, I was almost kind of felt ashamed and embarrassed because it made me feel different from everybody else. And I didn't like that feeling. You meant no teenager wants to be different from their friends or looked at or judged, obviously. So, I struggled with that a lot at the beginning. Like, nothing's wrong with me. I'm fine. But my parents and the doctors did send me to an inpatient treatment center in Arizona for my anorexia because it got pretty severe. And I discovered that in that treatment center, the therapist that I worked with discovered that the underlying cause of my anorexia was my OCD. And that was what we needed to focus on. If we focus more on the OCD, then that, could help with my anorexic behaviors and thoughts. So, right. So, from that treatment center for my anorexia, I went straight to another treatment center to work for my OCD. And this is all in eighth grade, the end of my eighth grade year. And again, I was fighting it. I didn't want to go. I'm like, y'all are horrible parents. So how could you do this to me? I want to be home. Just how teenagers can be with their parents. So, and I didn't accept any of this, right? And I was, again, to me, I was fine. I had everything under control. So again, that frustration and anger was stuck with me. So I was inpatient for my OCD, and then, I was there for about maybe a month and a half. And then my parents were like, all right, it's time to start high school. So let's, even though, there's still a lot of work to be done. And there's no cure for OCD. There's a lot of people when I came out, they're like, oh, so your OCD's gone. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. But so then I came home and still seeing doctors and all that. And all throughout high school, it was a pretty manageable state. And I grew friends in high school, and they would see my OCD behaviors. And at first, I'd be ashamed again and try to hide it. But then when I became closer with these friends, they didn't really care. They kind of accepted it. So those friends I have been part of my support group today, and still today are my best friends.
Wow.
And then I went to college, still kind of had it in a manageable state, but it still haunt me, but I still like I had control, still felt a little ashamed of it, still tried to hide it from my friends in college. But then they started seeing, my routines and certain behaviors of my OCD, and I would explain it to them, and they accepted me, right? They're like, okay, we get I understand why you're doing it. You like, I tried to explain to them, and they kind of got it. So again, same thing. Those friends have been part of my support group today and have been in my life forever. And that's been important to me. A part of my surrendering too, to have those people with me.
Oh gosh.
And then in college, that's where I discovered boxing. I had met a professional boxer, and I've been an athlete all my life. My athletics have actually helped me with my anorexia when I was in high school and I got into running. I was a great runner, and that being a great runner, I knew I had to fuel my body the right way, take care of my body. And so then those anorexic thoughts totally, went away, and I was focused on being healthy, strong, and taking care of my body. So I was able to get rid of the anorexia, I would say, most because of my athletics. Big part of that helped. Big part of that helped.
Thank
But
God.
my OCD stuck with me, obviously. So yeah, found boxing in college, and I was really good at it. I picked it up really, really fast. And the coach who I started with, said, I see a lot of potential in you. Let's start fighting and let's start going to the next level. And then in 2010, the Olympic Committee announced that they were adding female boxing to the Olympics. I don't know if no people know this, but women's boxing was never in the Olympics till the 2012 London Games. And that
Wow.
was huge for women because, I was still new in the game, but I've heard how these women had been fighting and fighting to get into the Olympics, and how, no, this is a male sport. Women shouldn't be boxing. They don't deserve to be in the ring. And we're like, deserve to be in the ring? We work just as hard as the men. Why not? That's our attitude. So, but it finally happened. It took a long time, but it finally happened. So when we heard that news, me and my coach's goal was, all right, let's get to the Olympics. So that was, yeah, in 2002. And so I worked hard. I dedicated to my boxing, while I'm still struggling with my OCD. But that um, goal and that passion with my boxing, getting to the Olympics, helped me move forward every day. Yes, I and I still do have bad days with my OCD, but my boxing helped me, you know, get out of my cycle and getting stuck with my OCD. So thank you to that boxing. And so yeah, I progressed very fast in my boxing. Uh, g Became number two in the nation at that time. Got recognized by USA Boxing as like a very potential, Olympian or just part of the being a member of the team and getting medals for the team. So in 2016, I won the Olympic trials, beat the girl that kept beating me all those years, and finally became number one in the nation. But
Incredible.
so at the trials, this is when all my friends knew about my OCD, but nobody really knew I struggled with it because you can't really see it unless you live with me. If you stay over, that's how my friends would see the behaviors and all that. And because I got to this level now, I was getting a lot of interviews, right?
Mhm.
And I was put on a different platform. And people wanted to know about me, like my story, right? And I was working after I have to give him props. Clark Happenstall, who's a professor at Rice University. I was working with him as my PR, and he knew about my OCD. And I sat down with this lady who, really wanted to dig in to get to know me. And he looked at me. He goes, "I think you should talk about your OCD. That's part of your story." And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay. But that was when I sat down with this lady. That was the first time I was open with it with the public, and like really open with it, and really telling people about my struggle and how I was an inpatient and how it's been debilitating in my life. But I've been living with it every day, but still fighting and trying, doing what I want in life. My letting my values and passion be the number one, in my OCD number two. So that was the first surrender of me accepting, like, okay, the shame and the being scared that people are going to judge me and look at me different. That I surrendered that to, what, I'm just going to tell my story so people can know more about me. That my OC doesn't necessarily define me, but it's something I struggle with. And I think people should know that because it's been a part of me for, since I was diagnosed in eighth grade, and it's still a big struggle. And I just think that's an important thing people should know about me. So I surrendered that. And it was when I got the reaction of like my teammates from USA Boxing and just the interviewer and then just other people, the reaction I got was, they wanted to know more about it. They didn't understand it, and they were interested, and they wanted to understand why I did what I did and the thought behind it, and then like what did the compulsions do for you, And I was like, that honestly, like I didn't expect that reaction. It surprised me, but it was also like felt like this weight had been lifted off me. I was like, wow, people are interested and want to learn about it instead of looking at me like, you know how the mental health has
Mhm.
had kind of like a negative negative thought or
Kind of
weak
that negative
weak
connotation. Yeah.
yeah, connotation, or a weak, like, oh, she's got a mental health problem, that's weak. In my mind, I feel, or I used to think that's a weak thing. And I'm a very, I'm a very strong person, and I don't like people to see me as weak. So that's why I was like, wow, this is awesome. People actually want to know about it and learn about it instead of just judge me and point the finger and whisper or talk about me. So that was the first like surrender that really helped me grow as to learn about myself and be comfortable with myself. So and then so yeah, I won the Olympic trials. I moved to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. I did not compete in the 2016 Rio Olympics because even though I won the Olympic trials, you have to qualify your weight class for your country and international tournaments. So I came up short there, but I still was named as the team captain. So I still got to go to Rio with the team and experience the how Olympic works and everything. And I was gonna turn pro after that, but I really, really wanted to be an Olympian and compete in the Olympics and just have that. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go for another Olympics. I was this close, so this close. So I know I can do it for the next one. So I decided to go for the next Olympics. So I stayed in Colorado Springs and trained there and worked, to go to Tokyo. And I was doing great, up was doing great in 2017. 2018, I was undefeated, and I think I fought because we go to international tournaments every year with the team. I think I fought like 15 fights that year, and I was undefeated. So I was having a great year in 2018. Then in 2019, I don't know necessarily what triggered it or why. I mean, maybe I knew that the Olympics was right around the corner and the Olympic trials for the 2021 Olympics were coming, and maybe the pressure there got to me. I don't know, but 2019, my OCD really came back and hit me hard. It was actually, I think in January, the beginning of 2019, it was like a 3 day period where, and again, this is going back to where I always thought I had that control over my OCD. Even though it gave me trouble, I still had that top control over it. But there was 3 days where I literally couldn't. I felt like I couldn't stop my routines,
Uh,
my OCD rituals that I would do for, and so I just want to tell people that my OCD is with contamination. So I do all these behaviors to keep for like cleaning behaviors or behaviors to make sure that everything me and the surroundings stays clean, and that can take a lot of different rituals. Like I have to do this first before I can clean this, before I can clean this. Like there's steps, and that takes a lot of time, and it's exhausting. But there's a 3 day period where I feel like I was stuck in doing these rituals and stuff. And the only thing that got me out of that was, it's time to go to practice. I got to go to practice. But then right after, I'd go back to my room and continue what I was doing. And I just couldn't stop. I didn't sleep. I think I might have slept uh seriously 4 hours out of those 3 days. So on that third day, lack of sleep, frustration with myself, not understanding what was going on. I felt like I was in a prison of my OCD. And it scared me because I'd never felt this before. I'd never felt this out of control. And I was like, what is going on? And I started getting thoughts like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to do this. If this is how my life's going to be, I don't want to live like this anymore. And I was miserable. And I think it was like 2 in the morning, and I still, and I just broke down, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I called the assistant head coach who lived on campus, because I became very close with him, and because I didn't know what else to do. And I just called him crying and saying, I can't do this anymore. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I can't move on. And, he tried to like calm me down, and he's like, just relax, try to make me laugh, which he did. He was good at that. And he said, don't worry about going, because we would have to weigh in every morning before breakfast. He goes, don't worry about going to weigh in. I'm going to call. I was working with a sports psychiatrist because they provide that for the athletes that live at the Olympic Training Center. He goes, I'm gonna call Lindsay, was her name. I'm gonna tell her the situation. I'm gonna have her call you. Just try to rest. Try to sit down, get in your bed, and just try to stop and just try to rest for now. And so I was able to pull myself out of that little cycle and just sit down for a minute because I was exhausted. So she called me, and I was just like, I was like, I'm really struggling. I don't know what to do. And she goes, well, what do you want to do? Like, would you want to go back into inpatient treatment? And I was like, you read my mind, Lindsay. I need help. I need to go back into inpatient because I need the help. And that was something hard for me to accept, was that I needed help. I never thought, I was like, like when I was little, I was like, why am I seeing all these doctors? I don't need them. I can do this. And so at that point, that was my biggest surrender, was, like, you know what? This OCD is stronger than I thought. I need the help. Don't, this is another part of the shame. Like it's okay to ask for help. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. I'm not weak. This. this is what you need for yourself to move on. And so that was the biggest surrender I've had in my life. Like,
Mm.
and again, that surrender goes into acceptance of it's okay to be have help. This thing is strong, it doesn't define you. It's just an issue you have to struggle with, you know, and it's okay. It's okay. People struggle with a lot, and it's okay. It's life. It's okay to struggle. So yeah, I went back into inpatient treatment for that, and thank God I did because it really helped get like reset me and get me back on track. And I won the Olympic trials and then competed in Tokyo, and now I'm turned pro. I won a world title belt last year. And then in between that time, I've told you this, Carol. I was featured in Oprah and Prince Harry's documentary called "The Me You Can't See" on Apple TV Plus. And again, this series is on mental health, and there's amazing people in it like Lady Gaga, Glenn Close, Robin Williamson, and so I was honored that they asked me to be in this. But yeah, that was another um, opening up to the world because they were filming me doing my rituals. Like now that when you talk about vulnerable,
Ah,
that was being very vulnerable, letting them into the place where nobody sees it. Maybe my friends might see it when we're going out getting ready just a little bit, but this is where nobody sees because I hide it. So them letting a whole camera crew in there, and then this series showed in 100 countries around the world. So the world was seeing my very very vulnerable side of me. So just but again doing that I felt freedom, and that's why in that quote, let it go, and then I can just be. I can have a peace of mind. I don't have, it's okay to the shame I would feel, this embarrassment, this difference, I just let that go, and I was me.
unbelievable. I'm trying to take a nice deep breath because we hear many people are just in tears, like I feel like being. Jenny, it is incredible. And I know everyone that is hearing this story, and I know that they will share this with all, is that this practice of surrender is on every level.
Yeah,
It's been
really
in
is.
level. I know it's daily. We've spoken about that. And the lives that you have touched through your practice of surrender, as you continue to do, I mean, let's face it, I'm your biggest fan out there. I'm sure other than your family, but I'd like to rival with that title. And I do have to close my eyes when she's out there boxing, and I have to close my eyes a lot. So who knows? But I'm telling you, Jenny, this is what the practice of surrender is about, and it's surrendering to Him and to God's strength. What's He going to do with that story?
Yeah,
Worldwide, you have said to people, your greatest strength is reaching out for help,
yeah,
rendering the shame. It's okay to be who you are.
yeah.
And there's another, and I'm going to read it now. And I know we're going a little over, but it is, I know everybody wants this. And this is really, it is 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.
Mm,
Like you said, you know how strong you are, but little did you know how mentally strong you were and how you were empowering other people through what you didn't want them to know about you.
yeah, for real.
Practice surrender and look at the people that you have touched and you have helped or allowed God to work through you by the grace of God through what you didn't even want to have.
Right. Mm.
I mean, Jenny, I don't, you know, y'all, Jenny's, we've done I'm not sure when the episode was, but she's been on the podcast. She's going to keep coming back, and she just, follow her. You'll have all the places where you can follow her, get to know her even better. Um, Jenny, thank you
Thank you so much. This was a pleasure, really.
from the bottom of my heart. And as you continue to practice surrender, um, it helps all of us to keep going. So often we only know the highlights of a person's story. And it's
Right.
like, well, how'd you get, well, somebody says overnight success, and really that overnight success was your day from your entire life to
Mhm.
get to where you are today. Thank you.